I'm Jennifer, and this is a short little tutorial on sewing the zipper shield for the Jackie Sports Bra. Now I don't show the construction of the whole thing, and this is just kind of a piece of it. So instead of sewing the hook and eye, you can do the zipper shield, and this is the video for you. So I want to show you how to do the shield as opposed to doing the hook and eye. So I've gone ahead and I've just sewn one part of it. And so what we have is we have one of the self and one of the lining. So they're going to be finished like this. So all of the tab and shield parts go on one side. So if you're going to be working on the left side for the shield, then you leave the right side completely alone. So for this one, I've also kind of gotten rid of this little panel. I've combined them just to make it a little bit easier for quick sewing. We have now two patterns we're going to be using for the shield and the tabs. And you'll notice that we are not using the separate bottom tab pattern. That one is only used with the hook and eye. So we have the top tab, which is going to end up getting folded, and it's going to end up getting stitched like this. So when we open it up, you'll have a little tab at the top. And then we have the entire shield, and this is a doubled piece. So this will end up being like this, all the way to there. And then on the waistband, it's going to end up getting folded up. So I'm going to walk you through these different steps. Now the first thing you're probably going to want to do is you're going to want to stabilize these pieces. If you don't, they could get a little bit flappy. Now, depending on how thick the fabric is you're using on this, you can use a contrast, but you don't want to use something really thick. Otherwise, you're only going to want to stabilize one side of it, like just the one side. I, unfortunately, have no interfacing in my house. So I am going to do this without the interfacing, but this gets interfacing and so does this. This does not really matter what grain it is on, so it doesn't matter how it's sewn, because that's why I didn't put a grain line on there, because they're going to be interfacing this whole piece. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to take this one, and we're going to fold it over to the right. And we have a little notch to line up where the waistband is going to be. And then we have this seam down at the bottom. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be stitching. This is now with the right sides facing each other. Did I do that right? Can't see. Yes, I did that right. So with the right sides facing each other, we're going to sew this slant at 1/4 of an inch. So that's about 6 millimeters. And we're also going to do this tiny little seam up at the top, again at 1/4 of an inch or 6 millimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and sew those pieces. Remember that these should be interfaced. I just don't have any interfacing in my house presently, so this is going to be done as an example, but you do need to fuse these to stabilize them. And I will be right back. So this piece is now sewn. So we can flip this right side out, and then we can pin our edges together. Now it would probably be very helpful if you actually did kind of a basting stitch around the edges. That way it kind of keeps its shape. I'm not going to do that at the moment. This piece we then can take and also fold this outwards. And I want to get that fold crisp there. Line up our edges all the way up to the top. So now these two pieces are prepped. On the self, we're going to take and we're going to attach this to this edge, that center front edge only. And we're going to stitch this, and this is going to be kind of like a temporary stitch. We will be putting the zipper over it afterwards. So we can sew this one at kind of, we don't want the stitches to show once we sew in the zipper. So we can go ahead and just stitch this, you know, maybe about 1/4 of an inch, just so it kind of tacks it down. We are not attaching the top. The top is not getting attached. On this piece, before we do that, we're actually going to attach the band. So the band is now going to get attached to the waistline of the lining. And now you would do this for the entire band. Right now I'm just showing you on this front panel. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the band to the lining. And then I'm going to attach this, and I'll be back with both of these. Okay. So the self is attached with this tab, and the lining is attached with the waistband. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to line this up on the center front of the lining, going all the way down through the band. And there is a little notch here. I did a terrible job cutting it, but that lines up at the seam between the waistlines. For the waistline, I would probably push your waistband elastic upwards, but we're not going to be able to kind of really clean finish that. So you can kind of push that up. So I get my edges lined up. And this should come down pretty much almost all the way down to where the seam allowance will be. So not all the way to the edge, it should end at that where the seam allowance is at that 3/8. Okay, so that's all lined up. I'm now going to sew this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is what we've got looking like so far. So this is going to end up tabbing over, and you're like, what's going on? Well, if we look at it this way, this is how it's going to be finished. So this is going to get folded up, and so we're going to have a tab. So I can't remember in the instructions which I have you do first. I think we do the waistband. So I'm going to take and attach this to the waistband. So the self goes to the waistband now. So they should match. Okay, now I'm going to sew the waistband on this one. And so I didn't say when I was attaching this, this is sewn at 3/8 of an inch. You could do it a little bit less, but I did this one at 3/8 of an inch going down. Okay, so we have now the waistbands attached, and we have our shield. As you can see, it's starting to come together.